It has now been a few months ago since we created this huge tropical vivarium that included a water compartment. For remembrance case, let's recap the wildlife inside, such as this massive apex predator centipede. It was accompanied by 2 pancake slugs as well, along with many other friends, with the aim to create a circular tropical ecosystem where everyone had their role, no matter how many legs they had, no matter how small, such as this tiny pink springtail that will help decompose rotten stuff, along with its white springtail friends, protecting larger organisms from mold. I also added some larger detrivores, such as these less common but pretty good looking cockroaches. But even when considering the marine ecosystem, looking gorgeous like this vivarium is a story about the ant colonies inside, such as this gracious trapjaw ant colony. And mind you, there is also a huge army ant colony inside, Asian army ants, with 2 queens pumping out hundreds of eggs, even thousands. Make sure to watch the latest video to see all of these inhabitants being introduced, and more. But at these initial stages, I still remember the vivarium being empty of life, with no animals coming out to eat the food I was offering. But that is not the case anymore. It is teeming with life now. And I just have to show you this nice little montage of what you could expect to see in this video, because this vivarium is now ready to be introduced to the second army ant colony to live inside. Make sure to stick around to see it. Here are the current army ants feasting. Oh, the isopod you can see here is also quite an expensive and rare one that I see wandering at times. I really hope their small population manages to become stable and reproduce. But you know, nothing is sure in a natural setup. I guess that's the trade-off you pay for them living naturally within this large ecosystem. Well, I guess sort of naturally. I don't know if these 2 guys should be eating next to each other. But most entertaining are these Asian army ants as mentioned before, or also normally called Marauder ants. And this colony, with 2 queens somewhere pumping out hundreds of eggs, it said, now answer promptly to anything I put into the tank, forming foraging trails and carrying their prey back into their nest no matter what. It's difficult to imagine anything that would stop them from achieving their goal. With grit, numbers, and openness to many different ways to do things, they are an unstoppable force already. Now, before I show you the introduction of the other army ant colony that I introduced to this tank as a challenger to the Marauder ants, I first thought I would tell you what other things are happening inside. First of all, the water compartment is doing great. The water is clear, and the organisms inside have an ethereal beauty to them, separated from the atrocities above water. Fish, crustacean, and amphibian alike, they form this tight-knit community, feeding together and making sure that their community persists. I do, however, need to excuse my error in the last video where I falsely assumed that my newt here ate a whole worm. This was apparently not the case, as you will soon see a part of the worm below this rock here, managing to get away as the newt separates from it. I'm very sorry, I actually did not see. It seemed a bit surreal for this newt to eat all of this worm. Have a look here. Moving on, these guys now had new friends. 3 coolie loaches. They grow to smaller lengths of 8 to 12 centimeters, and I have them in a group as they are social and wouldn't come out much otherwise, becoming quite shy. The idea is that they will help clean inside, And which they did. Look at this natural vacuum cleaner right here. The pond was doing amazing. The fish, crustaceans and amphibians alike. Who would you like to join them inside? Comment below. I think it has space for some other organisms. It is quite a spacious pond actually. Interestingly enough, this well-being led them to start to reproduce as well, like crazy. I've seen so many eggs inside, of different colors as well, so I think the loaches are reproducing too. I don't really know why though, but as you can see here and in the next video, they seem to have eclosed, but I have yet to see a single baby fish inside. I have no idea where they have gone. The eggs also had an interesting amount of small organisms living around them. I could only identify this small copepod, however, belonging to a group of small crustaceans found in nearly every freshwater and saltwater habitat, where some species have a parasitic phase. I'm not sure this guy is responsible for the eggs disappearing, however. What do you guys think is happening? Where are all my cute fish babies? Wouldn't you want to see them as well? Let's try to solve this somehow. Moving above water, the pancake slugs were the gentle giants that foraged carelessly throughout the vivarium. There was something special about them. They made the ground seem to move. I almost imagined them as the buses of the vivarium, where bugs could hop on and travel from one vivarium end to the other. They had this unstoppable force feeling around them. But that all changed when I saw one of the two hiding up in one of the corners of the vivarium. Curious about this deviant behavior, I immediately started to have a closer look, and it looked hurt, dying even. And the more I looked, the more I started to realize that this gentle giant had been wounded badly from a centipede bite. The two scars are clearly visible from the venomous mandibles. It was so tragic to see, and I'm pretty sure mollusks don't feel any pain, but I knew this animal was feeling bad. Look at him. I was absolutely heartbroken, and the mantis gave some emotional support, whereas I gave the slug some food, hoping it would recover. Sadly enough, however, the slug died hours after I saw it, to be consumed by the Marauder ants. Rip Sludgy. But this is the reality of a vivarium. But as some do worse in vivariums, others are doing insanely well, which just happens to be the case for the Marauder ants. My dream ant species to keep in a vivarium is finally pushing forward in this ecosystem, and is a force of nature to be reckoned with. Have a look at this compilation of their super majors, exploration, and carnivorous nature. I would not want to stand in the way of this force. They become omnipresent in the tank when they emerge, and they even manage to catch live prey. Have a look at this poor isopod here that was taken by surprise when they swarmed. Interestingly, this often happens as they swarm, and all the ants along the forest floor simply catch anything that passes through, grabbing them an occasional snack from the vivarium that wanders a bit too close, like this cricket right here. and they bring it straight back to the colony, back in the forests. Truly an army to be reckoned with. But I have one ant colony contestant that will stand in their way. It is our now quite small raider ant colony. This is an aggressive, primitive ant species from Southeast Asia that is characteristically known for its raiding behavior and aggressive stinging nature. It is often compared to true Dorylus subfamily of ants, which are commonly known as the true army ants. These guys will predate on a wide variety of insects, and even small rodents and amphibians if given the chance. Interestingly, it's one of the very few species which is capable of raiding other species' nests for their brood. And this is one of the two main reasons they are in this vivarium. The second reason being that they are very mobile, nomadic, always moving nests. Both behaviors which you will soon see applied in this vivarium, and I will explain why this is such a great fit. I have picked this species very carefully, and it is crucial that all these guys can live together as in nature and in potential harmony for most of the time. Well inside the vivarium, I could observe some foragers wandering around. I thought that maybe they were looking for food, and I immediately placed some freshly cut cockroach down for them. And waited. And waited. First, a fancy cockroach actually came to have a look and a first bite. Then even another ant species. Were these raider ants even going to show? And it was getting late, so I had to put on a time lapse to see what was going to happen. I was hoping to see their appearance at some point, preferably before the Marauder ants would come in and steal their food. I was really rooting for them here. Please move in, please feel safe enough to pick food on your first night. Let's hope, and let's see. But sure enough, as you can see, they came, and in great numbers. But what happened next baffled me to the core. They were already bringing their brood. I mean, they were moving their nest already. This is insane, as they just moved in, right? You can see the queen here moving in as well, confirming my suspicions of their move. This was such a fascinating ant species to observe because of this. They never really settle and become redundant in their behavior inside the vivarium. But most importantly, this mobility meant that they won't fall prey to proximate overcrowding by the Marauder ants, and can easily move away from their side of the tank, being very non-picky about their nesting space. Having them constantly move around inside the vivarium, and therefore it means that I will never have to worry about them losing quote-unquote their home. But what about the Marauder ants? Were they not hungry too? Well, that very evening the raider ants decided to put my hypothesis to the test, as I could observe a pack of raider ants hunting and moving closer to the Marauder ants feasting. And just like wolves, these guys hunt in packs. It's freaking awesome. They calmly scan the forest floor and then strike, whilst one or two of the other workers quickly run and recruit others to swarm the prey and take it back. But they got so close that I decided to give them some food instead. I was not ready for their first confrontation. What if I was wrong? What if, a huge ant war and hundreds of ants die? But that didn't stop them anyways. Having evolved next to these Marauder ants in Southeast Asia for millions of years, I was certain they knew who they were standing up to and who they were up against. And they never hesitated for a second. They started to antagonize the Marauder ants. Okay, it was now or ever. Will these guys do what I've counted on them to do because of their biology? Yes! Did you see that? I'll show it to you again. They have this sort of anti-ant move that I have observed so many socially parasitic and ant colony raiding ants have. They have this ability to make the other ants stop biting them by moving their abdomen. This is purely from my own observations, observing, for example, European slave-making ants like this one. I don't even know what it is, but this ability will be crucial to avoid the fate of so many other animals in the tank, allowing them to peacefully compete for food without getting caught in the process. I know this sounds quite, flabby all over the place, but I could really observe this every day in the tank from now on. Look at this. The greedy raider ants, much lower in numbers, did not deserve the cricket I just placed there on the trunk. And now they were going to fight for it anyways. In any other ant confrontation, I would be hysterically screaming, "Oh no, there is going to be a massacre, I need to do something." But in this case, because of the intrinsic biology of these raider ants, there was no casualties. They can simply compete for food without killing themselves. The Marauder ants will always have the numbers, as in this case, winning the sort of tiebreaker for this cricket, but the raider ants will always have the speed. And with minimal casualties, I think I can make sure both models prevail when offering food within the Vivarium. And if you want to see this live, check the Twitch. They often come out together. As you can see, this little guy here. It's only one raider ant though, so he's obviously not successful. But Nordic, you might ask. What about the other animals inside? Will they cope with these insane ant colonies roaming around? Well, first of all, the isopods are food. And then, this is what this Vivarium is about. Like many other things inside, everyone should be given a clear chance for a normal and successful life, breeding multiple times. But still, things can happen. And the sheer size, structural and floral diversity offered within this Vivarium should provide enough room and space for everyone. However, if an ant colony of course becomes too big and this no longer becomes the case, I will take countermeasures. Do not worry, Mr. Centipede here will be fine. I am not worried about the Tracho ant colony here either, which has moved into the pond in literally the most moist nest possible inside this Vivarium, close to the water pump. I'm quite positive that they are more than safe from most dangers. You just have to trust your animals with knowing their own natural habitat, as long as you can provide it to the extent you can. Some behaviors seem unnatural and become funny actually, but they might be natural as well, such as 2 Sundays ago when my raider ants refused protein, only had sugar food, lived in a tree and didn't even forage further than that bloody tree for a week. Very strange. Any ideas, guys? I've seen them move about in the tree crowns of the Vivarium, if that means anything. Maybe it's to avoid competition from the forest floor? Or maybe they're making a bivouac to, rest their young? Or maybe they're just arboreal, actually? I have no idea. Please let me know. Comment below. Anyhow, for now there seems to be peace between the ant colonies inside, and for long may that remain. Here you can see the Marauder ants, and moving just over a hill, you can see the raider ants feasting as well. And moving a little bit further, there's the third ant species here, that is from the unknown ant colony, and maybe we should give them a proper name. What about the shy wanderers? I'm not worried about them either. They hunt solo and scavenge without any problems the leftovers from the other ant colonies. They are very conflict averse. Even though they actually stole some food I was feeding to the raider ants just under their nose. It was some ant eggs and stuff. Very smart girl. I'm not sure she's hiding up there from them, but then she finds an exit and just goes for it. See you later, alligator. The real question is, however, how will this play out in the future, when the colonies grow larger and larger and hungrier and hungrier? I have acted very confident throughout the video, but I honestly have no idea. What I do know, however, is that only time will tell, and that I will be ready to intervene. The clash between the army ant species inside will be one of the Nordic ants' history book's stories, and for sure, this vivarium just keeps on showing us the intricacy and rawness of nature. Subscribe to know about what will happen next. And also, if you are a fan, make sure to tune in to the Discord and the Twitch, both links in the description. It will allow you to see the real-time state of the vivarium. Next, feel free to check out some of my other vivariums. Hope you have a fantastic day, and see you soon.